Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees and friends. Dandavats and pranams. All go to Srila Prabhupada. Wish you all a very, very happy Sri RADHASTAMI. We have a very special program today. It's the appearance day of Srimati Radharani. 2 weeks ago, we had Sri Krishna Janmashtami, and today we are going to celebrate the topmost, the highest devotee of Lord Sri Krishna, Srimati Radharani. If we are not able to do any devotional service, but if we can just take the shelter of the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani, there is every possibility that we would get Krishna Prema, Krishna's mercy. So we'll do a brief Kirtan now, and at 7:30, we'll have a nice lecture on Sri RADHASTAMI by His Grace Ramya Prabhuji at 7:30. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravane Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Bhasyata Desadarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaurav Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Jai Jai Shri Radhe, 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 Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna Bolo Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna Bolo 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 Jai 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 Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Hare Krishna devotees.
Hari Bol Prabhuji, such a beautiful Kirtan.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Very nice.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. You make us, you just make us feel like we are hearing some sort of a studio theater performance with all the.
Prabhu, all the credit goes to my mic and all the electronic gadgets I have. I have little talent. So it's
Prabhu, you know how to effectively use them in service of the Lord. So that's wonderful. Okay. Okay, let me. So, shall we start with His Grace Ramya Prabhu is here? Shall we get started with the special katha?
Just not everyone is muted.
Yes, Prabhu, I just muted.
Okay. I'm ready if you're ready.
Yes, Prabhu, I think we can get started.
Just give me a signal. Raise your hand or say something.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Do you have to put me in the focus then? Is that it?
Yes, Prabhu, one second, I'm doing that.
Om Aganatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Shri Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantika Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raganatam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Brijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishikam Hitamscha. And then is a very special prayer coming up. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye. Vanchakopa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnava Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today, devotees, dear devotees, is RADHASHTAMI. It is a very, very important day of celebration for all Gaudiya Vaishnavas who feel that they're constantly begging for the mercy of Srimati Radharani. And that one prayer, Tapta Kanchana Gaurange, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hare Priye, is specifically to Radharani. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavan. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. So, in particular, today we want to study and learn more about Srimati Radharani. Ananta. Oh, never mind. So I wanted to begin with some information here that is very helpful to understand the position of Srimati Radharani. So these are quotes from different parts of the Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita. First is, the love of the gopis is called Radha Bhava. It is pure and spotless. It is not at any time lust. Purport, this is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, chapter 4, text 162. The position of the gopis in their loving dealings with Krishna is transcendental. Their emotion is called Radha Bhava. Although it is apparently like mundane sex desire, one should not confuse it with mundane sexual love, for it is pure and unadulterated love of Godhead. Then a few more statements. Kama prema Donahakara Vibhina Lakshana Loha Arahema Yache Swarupe Vilakshana. Lust and love have different characteristics, just as iron and gold have different natures. The desire to gratify one's own senses is called kama, or lust, but the desire to please the senses of Lord Krishna is called prema. One should try to discriminate between sexual love and pure love, for they belong to two different categories with a gulf of difference between them. They are as different from one another as iron is from gold. So we talk about why we worship Radharani, and she is the fountainhead, the source of devotional service. And from her, under her guidance, under her potency, all Krishna Bhakti begins and resides. And her Bhakti is so complete. There's a statement here that explains a few more things about that love that makes it so unique and worshipable. And thus, Srimati Radharani is herself the container for that love, and her love we should understand. In spite of this way that the gopis are taking care of their own bodies and decorating themselves very nicely, how can one understand that they are not acting for their own sense gratification? In this regard, Krishnadas Kaviraj says, this is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 4, Adi Leela, text 181 through 184. So Krishnadas Kaviraj says, now, whatever affections we see the gopis show for their own bodies, know it to be certain to be only for the sake of Lord Krishna. The gopis think, I have offered this body to Lord Krishna. He is its owner, and it brings him enjoyment. Krishna finds joy in seeing and touching this body. For it is for this reason that they cleanse and decorate their bodies. O Arjuna, there is no greater receptacle of deep love for me than the gopis, who cleanse and decorate their very bodies because they consider them to be mine. And further explained that in Prabhupada's purports here to these verses, Prabhupada writes, selfless love of Godhead exhibited by the gopis cannot have any parallel. We should not, therefore, misunderstand the carefulness of the gopis in their personal decoration. The gopis dress themselves as beautifully as possible just to make Krishna happy by seeing them. And they have no ulterior desires. They dedicated their bodies and everything they possessed to the service of Krishna, taking it for granted that their bodies were meant only for his enjoyment. They dressed themselves with the understanding that Krishna would be happy by seeing them and touching them. And then the nature, the selfless, deep nature of that love, which is fully reaches pinnacle in Radharani, is described here by Krishnadas Kaviraj. There is another wonderful feature of emotion of the gopis. Its power is beyond comprehension of the intelligence. When the gopis see Lord Krishna, they derive unbounded bliss, although they have no desire for such pleasure. The gopis taste a pleasure 10 million times greater than the pleasure Lord Krishna derives from seeing them. So this is a very intimate law of devotional service, that the gopis, even though they have no desire to enjoy something separate from Krishna, by serving Krishna, they're enjoying actually 10 million times greater than Krishna himself is enjoying. So for us, this gives us a great encouragement that we can please Krishna, and that will be satisfying to us. The gopis have no inclination for their own enjoyment, and yet their joy increases. That is indeed a contradiction. So for this contradiction, there is only one solution. The joy of the gopis lies in the joy of their beloved Lord Krishna. When Lord Krishna sees the gopis, his joy increases, and his unparalleled sweetness also increases. So this is an important point to understand, because we always hear about how the gopis decorate their own bodies and cleanse them and do so many services for Krishna, but they're completely selfless. In fact, the great devotee Uddhava, Sri Uddhava, was sent by Lord Krishna to Vrindavan just to study and learn this great highest level of devotional service. And when he got there, he first talked to Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, and they were very disturbed because they hadn't seen Krishna in quite a long time. And Uddhava was trying to console them because they were simply crying and very unhappy. And Uddhava said, well, don't be so unhappy. Krishna is always there in your heart. And finally, Nanda Maharaj explains to Uddhava, he says, you're just a naive young boy. You don't understand. Krishna is our son, and we have such great love for him, and we're very attached to him. So in other words, they weren't thinking he's God. They were thinking he is my son, and I love him as my son, and I'm very attached to him. So much so that more is the gopis' position, and the pinnacle of the gopis' position is Srimati Radharani. And that example is there where Krishna is in Dwarka, and he tells Narada Muni that he has a headache. And Narada asks him, well, how will we help you? You've got a headache. This is unusual. Krishna says, I require the dust from the lotus feet of my devotees. If I place it on my head, then my headache will go away. And so then Narada said, okay, let me find and get that dust. There's so many devotees here. And he approaches different devotees in Dwarka, including the queens like Rumini and others, Satyabhama. And they all refuse, saying that if I give the dust, my feet to Krishna and put it on his head, I will commit Please mute. So they all refuse. But when Narada asked the gopis, they said, if we have to go to hell and Krishna will be relieved from his headache, that is fine. We are happy. So in this way, we can understand that their love is completely selfless, and that they would willingly give up their life 1,000,000 times so that Krishna will not suffer the least bit inconvenience or difficulty. So as we understand this, it helps us to understand why Srimati Radharani is so important to us, because she exemplifies this Radha Bhava, this mood of total surrender to Krishna. So a few more statements about that love. The nature of love of the gopis is devoid of any trace of lust. It is faultless, bright, and pure like molten gold. The gopis are the helpers, teachers, friends, wives, dear disciples, and confidants and serving maids of Lord Krishna. The gopis know Krishna's desires, and they know how to render service, perfect loving service for his enjoyment. They perform their service expertly for the satisfaction of their beloved. And among the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the foremost. She surpasses all in beauty, good qualities, in good fortune, and above all, in love. In this regard, it is said, just as Radha is dear to Lord Krishna, So her bathing place, Radhakund, is dear to him. She alone is his most beloved of all the gopis. So, anyone have any question on this before we go on? The exalted position of Srimati Radharani. Okay, let us go on here a little further. Now today I posted again in the Bhagavatam WhatsApp group, again the qualities of Srimati Radharani. So it would be very nice if all of you could take each one, take a moment and recite these out loud for us, take turns. And we can begin by Sridham Prabhu. He can read from line one quality, 25 qualities of Srimati Radharani. Is that possible?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhu, it is possible.
Just
I'm
sharing.
not seeing the message though.
Prabhu, I'm just sharing it on my screen.
Yeah, good.
The 25 qualities of Srimati Radharani. Number 1, she is sweetness personified.
Yes,
And
that's one. Kartik, read a number 2.
And a fresh young girl.
That's number 2. Who would like to read number 3? Bashwati?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Pranam. Number 3, she is always so merciful and always gives respect.
No.
No,
It's
sorry.
the third line under section 1.
Oh, sorry. She knows how to dress so nicely
She does. It's amazing.
and is cunning.
Oh, you're going to take number 4. She's very cunning. Cunning sounds like a very different kind of quality. But that cunning makes the love exchanges between Radha and Krishna very fresh and very deep. So, Sujoya Mataji, would you read one quality here? Highlight that one for us if you can.
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, happy Radhas.
She can give shelter to all devotees and is very grave.
So, yeah, in other words, she will give shelter to all of us devotees. That is a wonderful, attractive quality for us, as well as for Krishna. Very grave means in spite of all the things different pastimes, she's very deep in her feelings and her meditations on Krishna. So, Bipal, you want to take something?
Yes, Prabhuji, Pranam. She's always so brightly smiling and her eyes always move.
So this brightly smiling is amazing because there are different kinds of smile, but that brightly smiling is very attractive. And she smiles to her devotees, she smiles with Krishna, so she's very sweet. And her eyes always moving. She's always trying to see Krishna out of the side glance because she not look at him directly. That's not allowed in that place. So she's looking this way, that way, always looking for Krishna. All right, who's next? Umesh, you want to read something? You have
I
to
can read, Prabhu.
Yeah, go ahead, if you're
Hare
there.
Krishna. Number 3, right, Prabhu?
Yeah,
She's always so merciful and always gives respect. She can
yes,
speak
yes.
nice.
No, that's enough, that's enough.
Thank you.
So, that's another reason we pray to Radharani. She's always very merciful. So no matter how fallen we may be, she is willing to give us mercy, give us help. And she respects everyone. She even says, oh, this devotee, he's done you some simple service to Lord Krishna. He is a better devotee than me, even though that devotee be very insignificant. She always glorifies the devotees as being much better than her to Lord Krishna, and thus Krishna accepts the devotees who she recommends. Who can read next? Mother Puna?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Point 3, Prabhuji, I just joined, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
just
got it
highlighting.
highlighted.
Oh, she can speak nicely and sweetly and sings expertly.
Very important when, especially in a marriage, if the wife can always speak very nicely and sweetly, then there's always peace and a good relationship. So that we can see that she's always speaking nicely and sweetly with Krishna and all devotees. And her singing, she's always glorifying Krishna, but she's very expert in that singing. And who would go next? Kishore, you want to say something?
Yeah, I can go, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. She's modest and she's gentle and always patient.
So these are outstanding qualities. She's always very modest. She's not showing off and doing something very exterior. But at the same time, she's very gentle in her behavior towards others and always very patient. I know for me, I'm very happy she's very patient because it takes a long time to come to the standard of devotion that Krishna wants from us. So she's very patiently there, giving mercy and helping us. Who was next there? Jansi?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. She is enjoyed only by Krishna and is always very shy.
So these are, again, very important qualities. Radharani is the perfect feminine counterpart to Lord Krishna, but no one will she be enjoyed with except by Krishna. She is exclusively for Krishna. And she's very shy. Krishna may try to be a little forward with her, but she is always very shy in front of her elders, in front of Krishna. And who's next?
Vyas Prabhu has raised his hand, so he can go.
She has all auspicious marks on her transcendental form. Hare Krishna.
So this is very interesting because Krishna has transcendental marks on his feet and his hands. So does Radharani. And she has her own set of marks, which are very auspicious. And if we meditate on those marks that are on our lotus feet, it will completely purify us. All right, continue. Who's next? Ishan? Pumpkin? Who's there?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I can read.
Go ahead.
She can excite Lord Shri Krishna by her sweet fragrance.
So she is so naturally fragrant that the bumblebees chase around her body. And whenever she speaks, they chase around her very breath because she is her fragrance is just extraordinary that the bees want to taste it again and again. And this pleases Krishna very greatly. That's sweet fragrance. Who's next? Gandhi? Anyone who would like to, please put
Hare
your-
Krishna Prabhu. I will read. She is the abode of love of the people of Gokula.
Yes. So everyone in Gokula knows how deep her love is, and all the people love her as well. So that's wonderful. Anyone else want to read? I think otherwise in the
I can read.
Lakshay, who has raised his hand. Sorry, Lakshay Prabhu, you can go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. She's always affectionate to the elders and the young. Hare Krishna.
So Lakshmi should like that. She's very affectionate to the young, especially young girls, and also to the elders. Not like we see in modern society, people sometimes, their affection is not so great to those categories, but she is perfect in her culture and her good qualities. And we must remember all these qualities are attractive to Lord Krishna. That is what's the most important. And the next, who's next? Anyone else? Rakesh, are you there?
Prabhuji, can I read?
Go ahead.
Okay. Hare Krishna devotees and Pranam, all praise to Srimati Radharani. Number 7. She is always on the highest stage of devotion to the Lord.
Yes. So we said the gopis are in this mood of Radha Bhav. That means that the highest level of devotion is the Bhava, the devotion of Radharani. And there's even one stage called Mahabhava, which is the soul experience of Radharani. So let me just finish this up because we're running out of time. She is obliged by the dealings of her associates. She is the greatest among Krishna's girlfriends. She always keeps Krishna under control. So that last one is amazing because all these qualities actually work to control Krishna. Krishna voluntarily, willingly puts it, he is the supreme Ishvara, but he puts himself under her control. So this is amazing. Here we have the supreme Ishvara, Krishna, and yet she controls him. So all these qualities are make her very, very dear to Lord Krishna. So we can always remember that and keep that in mind as we try to approach her. Now I'll read something from chapter 8 here in this book. I don't know, you can switch the screen, put me in the highlight again there. They have this book here about Srimati Radharani by Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj. So in chapter 8, he describes the color of Srimati Radharani's body. The bodily color of Srimati Radharani is like new Gorachan, or like molten gold, or lightning in its static form. The form of Radharani is supremely radiant and effulgent due to her Apurva Rupa Madhurya. The sweetness of her beauty is ever increasing, so that she looks more and more beautiful than before each day. She looks so much more beautiful, it is as if she was never as beautiful before. Not like we find in the material world, as one ages, the beauty decreases. The bodily beauty decreases, but Radharani seems not only fresh, but ever more beautiful. Her bodily color is like gold melted by fire thousands of times, which has thus become very effulgent. So when gold is melted, its brightness is the greatest. At the time of meeting her beloved Sri Krishna, Sri Radhika becomes more effulgent and radiant. By her golden effulgence, even trees, creepers, birds, and leaves in the forest are tinged with her golden color. Srimati Radharani's complexion is of such intense golden color that when she stands next to Krishna, his body also becomes golden. So this is like a wonderful feature of Srimati Radharani. She often goes to meet Krishna in the dead of night, in the dark of night. And she has one assistant, Rati Manjari, who goes with her to help her along the path because she's so much absorbed in Krishna, sometimes she may stumble and fall because she's not completely focused on her external movements. But as she's moving along the path, even though there may be no moon, dark, the path is lit up by her effulgence. In fact, the whole forest takes on a golden color. So this is the nature of Srimati Radharani. So I won't go over the qualities of Radharani because I think we've already discussed those. And unless somebody has any questions, I would like to know, or something they would like to add. This is open mic. You can speak and add as you like. Anyone?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I have one question.
Sure.
Prabhuji, we just read that Radharani's eyes are moving around.
Yes.
So, Prabhuji, can you explain a little bit?
Well, she's always looking where she will see Krishna, how she will find Krishna. And like her servant, Srimati Rati Devi, she may describe some activity that Leela that Radharani performed, or that, he is like the color there of the tamal tree, and her eyes would be looking, where is there a tamal tree? Or his flute is like the song of some birds, and she'd be looking, where are there birds? So everything reminds her of Krishna, and she's constantly looking for Krishna. Just like in there is a song of Sad Goswami ISKCON, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, the direct disciples of Lord Chaitanya. And they were charged with by Lord Chaitanya to write different books explaining Krishna consciousness. So the 6 Goswamis, it's not said that they were seeing Krishna, but they were constantly going through Vrindavan looking, where is Krishna? Is he here at Vamsivat? Is he there at some other part of Gokul? Is he there in the sands of Nuram and Reti? And they're all going back and forth looking, where is Krishna? So, and Srimati Radharani's eyes have another feature that she's looking, because when Krishna is close, she cannot look at him directly. That would be a violation of the social etiquettes in the society she lives. Unmarried girls or girls married to another man, they're not allowed to look at other men. That would be a great mistake. But she looks out of the side of her eyes to see, where is Krishna? Rather than looking directly, she's giving a sight. And those glances also contain her love. When her glance comes across Krishna, that glance contains so much love. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Her eyes are like the chikora bird, which is constantly moving, looking, where is the nectar? Where is Krishna? So, and speaking of her eyes, there's another chapter 15. Radharani appeared in Varshan and Vrindavan, and her parents were Kirtida and Maharaj Rishabhanu. And following the birth, her parents, this takes place where, talking about where Radharani first opened her eyes. A very interesting story. It indicates the special nature of Srimati Radharani. One day, following Srimati Radharani's birth, Purnamasi came to the house of Rishabhanu, her father, on the invitation of Kirtida, her mother. As soon as she saw the baby girl, immediately she felt so much ecstasy and said, "It is none other than Rasheshwari who appeared in your house." So that means the controller, the source of all rasas. all relationships with Krishna. She advised Kirtida and Vrishabhanu, take nice care of this girl. She is the origin of Lakshmi Devi. So Lakshmi Devi emanates from Srimati Radharani. She is Ishwari, the controller of Bhuloka and Goloka. She is always worshipped by the Gopa Kanya, the cowherd girls, and great personalities like Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Marut, Varuna constantly offer their prayers at her lotus feet. Just as Sri Hari appears on the earthly planets by his own sweet will, in the same way, this girl who is an external consort of Sri Hari, eternal consort, has appeared in your house. By seeing, touching, or worshiping this girl, all desires will be fulfilled. She has appeared here to perform some confidential pastimes, and you must take care of her very nicely. So after some time, when King Vrishabhanu and Kirtida were looking at their beautiful daughter more closely, they suddenly realized she was not seeing anything. Her eyes were still closed. Everyone, including Kirtida, her mother, started to cry in distress that such a beautiful girl was blind. Still, even though she was blind, because of her unparalleled beauty, everyone came to see the newborn daughter of Vrishabhanu and Kirtida. Nanda Maharaj and Jasoda also came, along with their son Krishna. Nanda Maharaj and Vrishabhanu Maharaj embraced when they met, and Mother Jashoda was greeted with loving affection by Kirtida. She took her inside the house and also embraced her. Lord Krishna understood that his eternal consort, Sri Radha, had appeared in the house of Kirtida. Radharani, in the form of a baby girl, was lying there on the bed. While both Jashoda and Kirtida were busy discussing the newly born girl and her unfortunate blindness, what did Sri Krishna do? He climbed down from the lap of Mother Jashoda, and then he entered the room where Radharani lay sleeping. Then he climbed onto her bed and touched her eyes. Immediately, she opened her eyes to take darshan of her beloved Krishna. When Kirtida and Yashoda saw Radharani's eyes had opened, they were very happy and immediately shared the news with everyone present. There was much jubilation in the home of Maharaj Vrishabhanu and Mother Kirtida. There is another description regarding the opening of Radharani's eyes. So the same event was described a little differently by another devotee. Mother Jashoda came to the house of Kirtida carrying her son Krishna in her arms. When Mother Jashoda saw the beautiful daughter of Kirtida, she immediately placed Krishna on the ground and picked up Radharani, cradling the girl in her lap. Seeing this, Krishna became upset and started to cry. And Mother Jashoda bent down and picked up Krishna, also placing him on her lap. It is the nature of children that whenever they come together, they try to touch each other. When Radharani and Krishna came close to each other in the lap of Jashoda, Krishna reached out to touch Srimati Radharani. At his touch, Radharani realized that her Krishna was there in front of her and opened her eyes to take darshan of him, her first sight on this earthly planet. Now there's a reason for Radharani's taking birth as a blind girl, and it is as follows. In Goloka Dham, Lord Krishna was preparing to come to this earth planet to perform his Bhoma Leela, earthly pastimes. He mentioned to Radharani that she had also had to come to appear for his pastimes. But Radharani expressed her reluctance to come to earth because she would have to see so many people. And the only one she wished to look upon was Krishna. Krishna assured her that on earth she would be able to see him always. Radharani accepted this on the condition that on earth the first person she saw would be him. And that is why she appeared as a blind girl and gained her sight only in the presence of her beloved Shyamasundar. So this is uncommon and highly exemplifies the nature of Radharani's love for Krishna. So we still have time. I had another few pages I wanted to read. If anyone had any question here on this or comment. I don't know if this is all new to you or you've heard it before. Either way, it's wonderful, nectarian. So the next talks about a very important aspect, event that happened in Radharani's life when she was a young girl. In the palace of King Vrishabhanu, Radharani passed her childhood playing with her Sakis, her friends. Wherever in the palace they played, Radharani would always place a small deity of Krishna in the corner and decorate him with flowers. Radha and her Sakis would often play at cooking food for Krishna. Then once on Dwadasi Titi, when the gopis were all absorbed in their play, Durvasa Muni arrived at the palace. Now we know Durvasa Muni has played some very controversial roles. With the Pandavas, he came to visit them in the untimely minute, and he was going to bring all his disciples for lunch. And if they didn't provide, the Pandavas knew they would be cursed. But somehow Krishna came, found a tiny speck of prasadam, and everyone was so full they avoided even going back to see the Pandavas because they didn't want to be criticized for not being hungry at all. And at the same time, Durvasa Muni was the sage who was there, cursed Ambarish Maharaj and sent the demon after him, and was ultimately himself chased by Lord Krishna's Sudarshan Chakra, which protects his devotees. So he's some very controversial roles in the Vedic literature. So when all the Sakis saw that Durvasa Muni had arrived, they ran to all different parts of the palace, but only Srimati Radharani remained. Durvasa Muni was very pleased to see the incomparable beauty of Radharani. He said, quote, "My dear child, today you must feed me the sweet rice prepared by your own hands." When Radharani heard the desire of Durvasa Muni, immediately she ran to her mother to collect the ingredients: nicely scented rice, milk, sugar, tejapata, resin, ilachi, camphor, and other things. Within a short time, Radharani had prepared delicious sweet rice, which she served to Durvasa Muni. He found the smell very tempting, and when he tasted that inconceivably nectarian rice, he was convinced that Radharani was Gokuleshwari, the most worshipful Ishwara of Goloka, Mahalakshmi. No one else could have made such a wonderful preparation that defeated the taste of nectar and caused him to experience ecstasy. So just by tasting the sweet rice, he was feeling ecstasy. Being very pleased with Srimati Radharani's service and out of affection for her, he said, quote, "I am offering you the boon that whatever your hands touch, whatever you prepare, will taste like nectar. Whoever tastes this food you cooked by you, will have a long life, strength, beauty, and fame, all of which will increase day by day." When Mother Yashoda learned of Durvasa Muni's boon upon Srimati Radharani, she requested Kirtida and later Jatila to bring Radharani to her house to cook for Krishna. so that he might acquire all these blessings by tasting the food cooked by the nectarian hands of Srimati Radharani. Thus, the boon was very beneficial for Radharani, as she was able to serve Krishna on the plea of Mother Yashoda. She would have so many chances to see and meet with Krishna. So this benediction obviously played a very important role in the Leela of Radha and Krishna. Otherwise, after Radharani was married to Abhimanyu and living at the home of her mother-in-law, Jatila, she would always be watchful of Jatila that Radharani would not have any interaction with Krishna. She was watchful because she thought that Krishna was a bit of a, what's the word? Huh? Not only a trickster, but he was, I don't know, the word comes, it's not the right word, but you might call it playboy or something. He likes to meet the ladies and strike up relationships, and that was to be forbidden. So Jatila, though, allowed Radharani to go to Mother Yashoda's house and cook for him every day. So in this way, she always had the opportunity to meet Krishna and cook for him personally. And her cooking is another whole story in itself, because her cooking was extraordinary. She would cook like, I don't know, 25 preparations simultaneously. And of course, each one was saturated with her great deep love for Krishna, which made it so tasty to Lord Krishna. And she also knows Krishna's favorite sweet. What is that called? Anyway, his favorite sweet, I forget the name. No, it's some ladu, something. Anyway, forget the exact name. If somebody knows, they can remind me. And sometimes when Krishna was taking his breakfast or lunch, Krishna would secretly put aside some of his remnants, which the gopis would take and then deliver to Radharani. So on this one day, the gopis who were serving Krishna the food that was prepared by Radharani, they brought his favorite sweet, and they placed a little plate of these things in front of him. And Krishna was smiling, and as soon as he took a bite, the sweet, he made a terribly sour face. And he spit out, and he put it on the side. And everyone was like, oh, Radharani really blooped this preparation. Krishna won't eat it. Of course, Krishna's cowherd friends, they would all eat whatever they could, whatever Krishna gave them. But the part he spat out was secretly given to Radharani's friends to deliver to her. So this was Krishna's trick, how to deliver his remnants with no one understanding to Radharani. And I had one last area. I don't know if we have time. Maybe I'll stop here and ask if there's any questions, comments. Anybody else have some Leela that they would like to share, some important statements? I'm just not familiar how much you all know about Krishna Radharani. She's very important, but she remains a little hidden in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. And you may not know, but Shukadeva Goswami was a reciter of Srimad Bhagavatam. You may not know who he was previously. He was Radharani's parrot. And being so intimately connected to Radharani, he would not speak her name directly, because if he did, he would fall into some ecstatic trance, and Parikshit Maharaj would not be able to complete hearing the Bhagavatam in 7 days. So he wouldn't speak her name for that reason, and also because she is most intimately and deeply worshipped by the Radharani parrot, Sukadev. So he doesn't mention her name. He just refers to her as a gopi or chief among the gopis, like that. So there is one final thing. The appearance of Radha Kund and Shama Kund. So Radha Kund is the personal bathing lake of Srimati Radharani. And how did that come to be? How did it come? Well, here's the story. Once Kamsa sent a demon called Aristasura to Braja. This demon had accepted the form of a bull. He was very ferocious and frightened all the Brajavasis. And Lord Krishna killed this demon very easily. That night, Krishna played on his flute to attract the gopis and enjoy with them in the rasa dance. While Radharani, Lalita, and the other Sakis were approaching Krishna, they were discussing among themselves, quote, Krishna, the son of Rajaraj Nanda, has killed a bull, and thus he has committed a sin. It has been described in the scriptures that even if a king commits a sin, then the citizens must share that reaction. Following this principle, the sin incurred by Krishna of killing a bull must also have infected us. We must consult Bhagavati Purnamasi and ask her what we must do to be free from this sin. So Purnamasi plays a role in Vrindavan, and she's like the senior woman, like Guru, who's always advising everyone, making sure that Krishna's pastimes are flowing nicely and correctly. While discussing this, they were approaching Krishna, and they spoke loudly so that Krishna could hear them. Radharani said to Krishna, "O killer of the bull, today you should not touch our bodies." And Krishna replied, "O foolish gopis, that was not a real bull. He was a demon who had come in the disguise of a bull to harm the people of Vraja." Radharani then said, and you can see how clever she is, "O Krishna, even if he was a demon, still he had accepted the form of a bull. Vritasura was also a demon. Still, Indra incurred the sin of killing a Brahmin. In the same way, even if Vritasura was a demon, because he was in the form of bull, you have incurred sin." When Krishna heard this explanation from Radharani, he had no answer. He stood shamefaced, looking down at the ground, and he asked Radharani, "If I have incurred this sin, then what is the solution? What should I do to become free from this sin?" Then Radharani and her Sakhi said, "We have heard from Devi Purnamasi and Gargi, the daughter of Gargacharya, that for this kind of sin one must travel to all the holy places and take bath in the waters of those tirthas. Then only you'll be free from the sin of killing a bull." Now, I remember for Prabhupada's 25th birthday, was it? The, that Prabhupada's centennial, Prabhupada's 100th birthday. One of the things happened is that we collected these bottles of water that contain in them water from 1008 holy places. Someone traveled all over India and personally collected these waters, and they mixed them and had these bottles that they sent around the world. So Krishna heard this process of atonement from Srimati Radharani. And, there were so many places to visit that he knew he would be gone from Vrindavan for a very long time. So he gave up his humility and said, "Do you think I have to go over all the three worlds to take bath in the tirthas? Just see. Now I will bring all the tirthas here before your very eyes." So Krishna didn't want to go to thousands of locations. Then Krishna, in a very angry mood, kicked the ground with his left heel. That kick of Lord Krishna created a hole, and immediately Bhagavati Ganga appeared from Pataloka. And then Krishna invited all the tirthas into the water. They appeared by his order and entered into the water. So now all the holy sites, all their waters have merged with this Ganga water and this imprint from which Krishna just kicked in the ground. After taking bath, Krishna said, I will arrange that this pond created by me, and which carries this most pure water of all the tirthas that exist here eternally. He looked at Radharani and Saki and said, now I've taken bath in this water and have been purified from my sins. But what about you? You have performed no pious activities in this life. How will you take a bath in all these tirthas? So now he's challenging the gopis that they shared the effects of the sin, that they also had to become free from the sins. And the gopis said, oh Krishna, you are a great cheater. Who can understand your illusion? All the water in this pond is just normal water. How can you say so proudly that the water is from all the tirthas? We don't believe you. So they were making a doubt how this pond full of water was somehow containing the water from all the tirthas. They could not see it. See how that happened. When Krishna heard this from the gopis, he did something extraordinary. He summoned all the tirthas who had appeared in the personified forms before Radharani, and one by one they identified themselves to her. Quote, I am Lavana Samudra, ocean of salty water. I am Sona. I am the Sindhu River. I am the Tamraparni. I am Pushkara. I am Saraswati. I am the river Jamuna. I am Kavari. I am the Tirtha Raj Prayag. I am the holy river Reva. And none of us have entered into this. Now all of us have entered into this kund in the form of water. So each of the holy places has a person representing them, or who is that, embodies that whole tirtha. And they all appeared there. And they all identified themselves and said, now we have entered into this water, so you have to understand what Krishna said is true. Then Krishna said to the gopis, now there is nothing for you to doubt. So Krishna proved all the holy tirthas had appeared there. I have taken my bath in the holy water of all the tirthas, and now I am completely free from all sins. But what about all of you? Being citizens of Raja, you are infected by sin. Now all of you should take bath in the water and become free from sin. Otherwise you will remain contaminated and you will not be able to touch my body. So Krishna is very clever. He turned the whole thing around, and now the gopis are the ones who are contaminated, and Krishna won't allow them to touch him. So Radharani, very clever, she says, oh Sakis, Krishna has created this pond by kicking in the ground with his feet. This is not an auspicious start. Furthermore, since he took his bath here, the water has become contaminated by receiving the sins of Krishna. We should not take bath in this kunda. We must create our own kunda and take bath in that water. So on the western side of the kunda created by Krishna, it's known as Shama Kund, Radharani found a place that bore the hoof print of the demon Aristasura, and this then created a hole. Srimati Radharani took her bangles, and with the help of all her sakis, her friends, and they used their bangles too, they began digging around this footprint to make it into the size of a big lake. There were so many gopis that within a short time the large pond was created. Because this kunda was created by the bangles of Radharani, it is known as Kanakana Kunda, which is later known as Radha Kunda. Thus Radharani very quickly created a nice kund next to Krishna Kund, or Shama Kund. Krishna was surprised to see this. He told Radharani, oh lotus-eyed one, you have made a nice hole. But what is the use of this pond if there's no water in it? Anyway, I can allow you and all your Sakis to take water from my kund and fill yours. Hearing this from Krishna, Radharani turned her face away and raised her chin and said, no, no, your kund is contaminated by sins that you released during your bath. We will not take bath in that water. We will bring water from Manasi Ganga by the help of my millions of Sakis. And thus I will establish an incomparable glories of my kund in this world. So Radharani was going to have all the gopis carrying water from this Manasi Ganga on Govardhan Hill and fill up her kund. Krishna thought that this would be far too much labor for Radharani and the gopis. So he indicated to all the tirthas to approach Sri Radhika and to serve her. Immediately, the personified tirthas appeared before Srimati Radharani and offered their prayers to her. And they said, O Devi, who can calculate the greatness of your glories? The Vedas do not know the end of your glories. Brahma, Shiva, and Narada also do not know the end of your glories. Sri Uddhava is always meditating on your unlimited glories. The corner of your lotus feet are so radiant that the rays of beauty are desired even by Lakshmi. Only one person knows your glories in full, and he is the son of Maharaj Nanda, who is cleaning the perspiration, cleaning the perspiration of your body out of love for you. He decorates your lotus feet very beautifully with ankle bells made of precious gems. He feels himself most fortunate to receive the mercy of your vision. By his order and mercy, we have appeared in this kundin, which was created by the kick of his heel. O Srimati Radhika, kindly accept us by casting your merciful glance upon us, and let us live in your kund and always have the opportunity to behold your sweet pastimes with Krishna. Thus all our desires will be fulfilled. Hearing the prayers of the personified tirthas, Radharani looked upon Krishna and smiled. She said, O tirthas, I am very pleased with your prayers. Now you may enter my kunda by your own sweet will. On this merciful order of Radharani, immediately Sri Krishna, with the help of his flute, made a hole in the dam between both kundas, and the water from Shamakund entered into Radhakund. Srimati Radharani entered her kund at midnight on the Kartik Purnima, Krishnastami or Bahulastami Titi. When Krishna saw Radhakund filled with water, he took bath there. He said to Radharani, "Oh, my most dear one, I will take bath and engage in water sports daily in this kund created by you. As you are dear to me, this kund created by you is also very dear to me." So each year, thousands of devotees take bath in Radhakund on this Titi Muhurta to attain the perfection of life. Kankana Kunda still exists within Radhakund. So this original kund exists within the current Radhakund. And it is 25 feet square and 16 feet deep. And when devotees emptied Radhakunda for cleaning purposes at that time, Kankana Kunda was visible. So it's getting late. I want to stop there and ask if there's any more questions. I hope tonight was very blissful for all of you and encouraging. And anyone have any questions about Srimati Radharani? There's so much yet to be known and understood. And she is full of unlimited wonderful qualities and leelas. Kartik, do you have any question?
No, actually, one of my friend had a question, Prabhu, that why did Krishna didn't marry Srimati Radharani if she was
actually
eternal
Krishna was going to be arranged by Mother Yashoda to marry Krishna. Mother Yashoda always thought Krishna is the perfect person to marry my daughter. Kirtida thought that, and Vrishabhanu also. And so one day, she created a whole chest full of jewels and valuable cloths and ornaments as a dowry to give to to give to Vrishabhanu and Kirtida. Yashoda created that. And then, as part of a custom of marriage, she rubbed the hands of Radharani with turmeric. And Radharani was then told by Purnamasi, you cannot marry Krishna now. Because if Kamsa hears of this, he will immediately kill and cause so many atrocities in Vrindavan. So don't marry him now. It's very inauspicious. So Radharani, she ran to one kund in the area and she washed her hands till the whole kund became the color of turmeric. And then secretly a wedding was performed with this person named Abhimanyu. And his mother was Jatila. Now this is the nature of Krishna's pastimes. They unfold in a way that creates a whole drama behind it. We know that the queens in Dwarka, they married Krishna and he provided palaces and children and everything they needed. And so life went on as a householders, but this was not the rasa Krishna was looking for. Krishna wanted this parakiya bhava, the unwedded love. It is said by experts, scholars, to be much more intense. So it's not part of Krishna's Leela that he should marry Radharani.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
It's a very deep topic, and there's much more to be said about it, but we won't have time tonight. We can talk at a later time, anyone who wishes to talk about it.
Sure, Prabhu. Thank you.
Any questions, Sridham? Comment?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for all the the details on the glorification of Srimati Radharani. I just have a comment, Prabhu. I believe there are not too many explicit references of Srimati Radharani in, for example, Bhagavatam or Mahabharata and so on. But I believe there is a Purana out of the 18 Puranas called Brahma Vavarta.
Yes.
I believe it has got a lot more details of more pastimes of Srimati Radharani and why she got kind of Krishna and Srimati Radharani were separated and so on. I believe there was some kind of a curse from Sridhama. Sridhama was her younger brother, and that was also a pastime. And I believe that was one of the reasons after Krishna left Vrindavan.
Well, there is a more significant and important reason.
Sure, yeah.
And that is that this love experienced in separation, when the lovers cannot meet, when there's some external reasons they cannot meet, is much more intense. And Krishna wanted to experience that, and he wanted the gopis to experience it, to bring their devotion to a higher level. So we know that when Krishna left Vrindavan, the gopis were completely devastated. And sometimes the Radharani's devastation reached the point where she seemed to almost die. But the only thing kept her alive was the hope she would meet Krishna again. So this Mahabhava that is experienced by separation is the highest experience. In this material world, separation seems to be not very desirable. But there, because separation and union are all perfect, that separation is the highest experience.
We may see it as suffering.
Huh?
We may see it as suffering, but it's not suffering.
Thank you, Prabhu. That's a great explanation. Yes, distance creates more love, they say here.
Well, especially from Krishna, because the meditation becomes deeper.
Haribol, Prabhu.
And especially on the spiritual platform. For example, one may take a guru, but due to separation, he cannot be always with the guru or cannot serve them in ways he'd like. So that creates a type of separation. But Prabhupada encouraged us that simply by meditating on him and his instructions, that we would be close up together. So this is a immediate example of how that separation occurs. And thus Prabhupada, when asked, do you ever feel separated from your guru? He said, no. My guru is always with me, always in the form of instructions. So to an ordinary person, that sounds confusing. But on the spiritual platform, it is perfect.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Haribol, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
And this name of this book here is called The Glories of Srimati Radharani. And it is compiled by His Holiness Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj. I'm not sure if it's still available on Amazon or from India. You know, I've had it for a number of years. But it's helpful. But the references are there in other places as well that he quotes. He's just compiled them into one book, which is very, very wonderful. And also the six Goswamis, they further expanded the knowledge, the bhakti, the devotion for Srimati Radharani, because they were all in their spiritual forms, intimate associates, intimate servants of Radharani. So they even had personal realizations of Leelas of Radha and Krishna that are not there in any of the Puranas or other histories, because they were personally viewing these, because they were so deeply focused on the spiritual platform.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So, dear devotees, let us all say 3 times Hari Bol to His Grace Ramiya Prabhu for giving us such a beautiful nectar on this auspicious day of Srimati Radharani's appearance day. So let us say Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari
Bol.
Hari Bol. Srimati Radharani ki
Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna, devotees. Thank you very much for joining today's celebration. I hope we all have learned a lot about Srimati Radharani today, especially those who are learning it, are attending it for the first time and hearing about the glories of Srimati Radharani. So thank you very much, and we'll see you all tomorrow for the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.